Armenia's constitution provides for a parliamentary republic with a unicameral legislature, the National Assembly, Parliament. The Prime Minister, elected by Parliament, heads the government. The President, also elected by Parliament, largely performs a ceremonial role. Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan's Civil Contract Party won 54% of the vote and an overwhelming majority of seats in Parliament in snap elections held in June 2021. According to the October 2021 final assessment of the International Election Observation Mission under the umbrella of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, voters were provided with a broad range of options. The elections were generally well managed, and contestants were able to campaign freely. The elections, however, were also characterized by intense polarization and marked by increasingly inflammatory rhetoric. The observation mission noted that high levels of harsh, intolerant, inflammatory and discriminatory rhetoric in the period leading up to election day tainted the debate. Other shortcomings included incidents of pressure to attend campaign events, allegations of vote buying, blurring of the line between the ruling party and state, alleged misuse of administrative resources, inadequate campaign finance provisions, and the narrow standing allowed for submitting electoral complaints. The National Police Force is responsible for internal security, while the National Security Service is responsible for national security, intelligence activities, and border control. As of December 30th, the police chief reports to the Minister of Internal Affairs, who in turn reports directly to the Prime Minister. The Minister of Internal Affairs is appointed by the President upon the Prime Minister's recommendation. The Chief of the National Security Service also reports directly to the Prime Minister. Civilian authorities maintained effective control over the security forces. There were reports that members of the security forces committed some abuses. During the year, there were incidents of violence between Armenia and Azerbaijan that resulted in casualties and detentions. There were reports that Azerbaijani forces engaged in unlawful killings, and cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment of Armenian forces in September. Complaints submitted by Armenia and Azerbaijan to the European Court of Human Rights accusing each other of committing atrocities during the fighting in 2020 and 2016 awaited the court's ruling. Armenia submitted new complaints regarding the September fighting. Significant human rights issues included credible reports of torture by members of the security forces, harsh prison conditions, arbitrary arrest or detention, serious problems with judicial independence, arbitrary or unlawful interference with privacy, restrictions on freedom of expression, crimes involving violence or threats of violence targeting civil society figures and lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and intersex persons, and the worst forms of child labor. The government took only limited steps to investigate and punish alleged abuses by former and current government officials and law enforcement authorities. There was no reported progress